up, my 1111 YouTube friends? Part 3 of the XCR 600 engine build. Been trying to go through a detailed list of how to put one of these engines together. I've been using information from Streeter's Garage, from Nutter's Speed Shop, and Garrett Roberts, Alaskan Pro XR. All those guys have shared a lot of this information and specs and stuff in the past. I've resorted to their videos numerous times. God, if I could remember all the torque specs, but I pretty much got them now after I've just done like 4 or 5 of these things in a row this winter. So get a lot better at memorizing this stuff. So we're down to installing the flywheel and the recoil housing, and that's about it. And I'm going to recap a few things and a couple things I didn't touch on. And I always say I'm not the best of teachers because I skip steps that when the camera is possibly off, I do something and I forget to say what I had just done, like put the O-ring in the top of the cylinder to put the head on. It was in there. I just didn't show it on camera of me putting the O-ring on. And checking the ring end gap. Remember in my video, I already had one cylinder on, so I already checked the ring end gap. And I've checked so many ring end gaps over the last umpteen million years. I've never had one out of spec. And well, I guess there was one time we had a Wiseco ring tight, and it was bizarre, but it was on a bored cylinder, but the Wiseco ring was too tight on their tolerance, so we had to file the ends. But that's the only time I've ever had to do it. Every time I've checked a ring end gap, you know, with these SPIs or even the Wisecos on a non-bored cylinder, they're always within spec because the spec is like that big, the tolerance. So let's talk about that first, and we'll button this stuff up. So checking your ring end gap. Here is the rings I stuck in it. Here's a 600 cylinder. You stick it in your cylinder, and then you can use a piston. Just lightly push it in there, and that kind of squares the ring up inside of the bore. And then SPI even sends a sheet with their rings and piston. They send a sheet, and they give the tolerance here. As tight as 10 thou, as big as 25 thou. That's the tolerance. It's that big. So first thing I do is I take out 2 feeler gauges. One's 10 thou, one's 20 thou. If the 10 thou goes, you're good. If the 20 thou doesn't go, it doesn't, you're good. If it did go, then I would start jumping up 1 thou at a time and make sure I didn't get to 25 thousandths, because that's the largest that you want your ring end gap. So 10 goes, 20 doesn't. Sorry, I'm not going to spend any more time going through all these feeler gauges just so I know that it's at 14 thousandths. It doesn't matter. I'm within spec. So that's where I'm stopping with that. If it's right or wrong, I don't know, and I don't care. It works for me. It has for a very long time. So let's throw the flywheel on. We got a keyway here. If you get an NOS crank, or if you send your crank out to be redone, take your keyway out before you send your crank out. I have no clue of what the crankshaft shops do with that keyway, but I've never had one come back to me, and they don't send one either. I don't get it, but I wish they would at least take it out and put it in a little Ziploc bag and send it back with the crank, because there's nothing more frustrating when you go to put your crank and you got to go take a keyway out of another crank in your inventory. So we just stick the flywheel on like so. Put the washer on, put the nut on. 60 foot-pounds of torque is what you want. Now, one way to hold your engine is, one, you could put some kind of a vice grip clamp thing around here. I don't recommend that. You could have your clutch on. You could stick some kind of a pry bar through your clutch to hold the engine. That works. I've done that. Or you stick a rope down in here. You make sure your piston's kind of close to the top of the head so you don't get your rope stuck into one of your ports. You don't want the rope stuck into your port. You just get the rope stuck in here, and that rope is going to hold your piston from topping out, and then you'll be able to achieve this torque right here. Which 60 pounds, it's kind of grunty. Hopefully I can get it. Sometimes one of us has to hold the engine, but I'll work it up. Oh, see, I didn't have the rope in all the way. Sometimes that'll happen. I thought I had enough in there. but it slipped. Retry, take 2. It usually slips like that if you have it into the port. That I have found. You just want it on the top of the piston, bottoming out to the bottom of the head. Okay, boy, oh boy, oh boy. It's early yet. I haven't even gotten 4 sips out of my coffee yet. I'm struggling. Hey, your guys' laughter right now, I bet. Okay, let's try again. If I fail again, like I said, that's a lot. But we got 60 foot-pounds of torque using the rope in the cylinder trick. Works every time. All right, what else do I want to recap on this thing? I think I covered everything. I wanted to cover the ring end gap. The O-ring is in the cylinder, on top of the cylinder. Let's throw the old rewinder thing around here. Makes the engine go. Ever heard the old term talk about what's bothering is going to make you feel a lot better? Whew. And do I feel better after yesterday's video talking about the negative comments that I had gotten. But that's all done with. As we can see, we don't want negative comments on such a cool channel that we're all on here for the same love. Love and triples. That's what we do. Oh, you know what I forgot? Forgot the starter hub. I have done that. You know how many times I've done it, and I bet I can almost hear a couple of you shouting, "Put the starter hub on! Don't stop! Put the starter hub on!" Yeah. So I have them sitting there, but that's more than once I've actually done that. Just goes to show, I ain't perfect. Far from perfect. Ambitious, yes. Not perfect. I can see what I'm doing, but you guys can't see what I'm doing. Boy, one of these days I will learn how to do this. Been doing it long enough, you think I'd know how to at least make it so you guys can see what I'm doing. And I'm just gonna bring these in a little snug with this. And I'm going to go back with my 1/4-inch drive ratchet. Now these are only like a 12 foot-pounds of torque, but I just hold it and I just give it a good enough. Never had one come loose. This is an awesome torque spec because the oof the doof are tight enough. Oh yes. And then I just like to check. Make sure I got them all. That's 6 of them, you know, so sometimes you lose track in your count. You think you did 6, but you didn't. All right, let's put this thing on now. Got so excited earlier, I thought I was done. This thing's looking good though. Next step is it's gonna go into the engine. I think I'll recap the torque specs is what I'll do. All in one video, all the torque specs. All right, torque specs. Get your pencil and paper, write them down. Smaller bolts on the bottom of the case. 18 to 20 foot-pounds of torque. I always split it in the middle, 19. The larger 2 bolts over here, 24 to 26. Same thing, I split in the middle, I go 25. Cylinder nuts, 24 to 26. I give them the old double-ended wrench, good and tight. Or tap it with a hammer, whatever you want to do. It's an accepted torque. It's tight torque. Head bolts, 18 to 20. Once again, I go in the middle. These are also 18 to 20 on these. I go in the middle at 19. Last but not least, the nut on the end of the flywheel is 60 foot-pounds of torque. I think I covered all the torque. Most of these smaller bolts, if you want to torque them on, all of these I just go good and tight. All these bolts, they're right around 12, 14 foot-pounds of torque. That's what I do with them. So I think that covers the complete engine build and all the torque specs. I hope everybody got all them specs jotted down. Or you can just keep referring back to my video every time you got to build an engine and I get one more view. And you get some more stuff to watch. Hopefully it's worth it. So that's it on the engine, guys. We're coming along on the chassis over here. It's looking absolutely amazing. Trenton's been starting to clean things up, but today we're really gonna hit it good. We're gonna start soaping this down real good, start really cleaning the chassis, put some detail work into it. We've already blown things out. We're gonna start doing some new heat tape and stuff. Some of the heat tape was messed up, so we peeled off a bunch of it. We're gonna start reapplying some new heat tape on it. Yeah, we got the track sitting underneath it. We got the new tunnel enclosure in the back, different bumper on, snow flaps on, chain case is back in it, new bearings in the chain case and seals. I was gonna do a video on that, but I'll have to do a video on a different sled because I turned my head for like 3 minutes and all of a sudden I hear Trenton ask, how many ounces of fluid does the chain case take? And I'm like, what, you already put the chain case in? He's like, yeah, I thought we were supposed to. I'm like, well, I was gonna do a video of it, but we got more sleds to put together video. We'll get a chain case video. It's things that people are asking for, so I'll do a chain case video. Here's my book that I refer to a lot. It only goes up to 94 of those, but a lot of my torque specs and stuff in there that I refer to. So, yeah, so that pretty much concludes this video, guys. Thanks for all the views and thanks for all the awesome positive comments on that build number 2. Like I said, you could tell I was frustrated, and I got it all out, and I feel a lot better. So we'll just keep moving forward. Trenton picked up that awesome 94 RXL that I just threw a video up, and another thing you can see too is this one good habit we are on is I just had to take all these tools out of the toolbox this morning to finish this engine, even though I knew I was going to do it today. Trenton and I have learned to put all the tools back at the end of the day, because he hasn't started here yet today. You can see there's not anything sitting on here. And we've just learned that fill the toolbox back up at the end of the day makes it so much easier to start the next day because you can find that 10 mil socket that you'll walk around otherwise for 15 minutes trying to find it. You just go to the toolbox, it's already sitting right there, instead of where you left it yesterday, the last time you used it, and you can't remember where it was the last time you used it. So just a little tip on fill the toolbox at the end of the day. It makes it so much easier to start up the next day. So thanks for watching, guys. You guys are awesome. This is why we do it.